I was 150 yards from my truck when I heard it. A sound I couldn't identify. Then again. Always in pairs, the second one slightly different in tone. I froze on the trail, my tree stand clanking against my back. My wife whispered, "I've been hearing that for a while now." I strained my ears, listening between the clanks of my poorly packed stand. There it was again. We were on a powder-dry dirt road, no other tire tracks, no one else around. I'm an experienced hunter. I've been in the woods my entire life. I know what belongs out there and what doesn't. This didn't belong. When I got home, I looked up every bird call, every owl, every animal I could think of. Nothing matched. Then I played the Sierra sounds, the alleged Bigfoot vocalizations. Identical whoops. My wife started crying. Because we'd heard the exact same thing an hour ago, alone in the woods. I'm Alvin, and this is Common Ground Horror. Let me give you some background so you understand why this unnerved me so much. I live for the outdoors, for hunting. I've been outside my entire life, exploring on foot, on dirt bikes, alone in the woods before I was even a teenager. Hunting is life for me. I don't know how to explain it, but even if it's terrible hunting, terrible conditions, I can't convince myself to stay home. I'll be irritable and upset the entire time if it's hunting season and I have a tag, but I'm not out there. I have to be in the woods. I've been in situations most people would find terrifying. Alone in the backcountry, in the dark, in storms, around predators. None of it bothers me. It's where I'm comfortable. But this time was different. This is the first time hunting where I've actually been unnerved. Hair standing up on my neck. Run to the truck kind of unnerved. Opening day of whitetail season in the south snuck up on me. I haven't done any scouting. 0. But I'd found a piece of public land last year late in the season that I really wanted to check out. My wife and I loaded up the truck, got our bows, our tree stands, and headed out. It was early, still dark when we arrived. We parked on a dirt road and started walking in. I had a good idea where I wanted to go, but I had to find a spot for her that I thought would work. I got her set up in a tree with a good view, wished her luck, and headed to where I wanted to be. I climbed my tree, setting up my summit climber stand. Immediately, I was discouraged. I'd seen 0 sign along the way. No tracks, no rubs, no scrapes. Nothing. And the conditions were the worst. It was 90 degrees and humid and completely still. Not a breath of wind. I was getting hammered by mosquitoes. I'd forgotten my thermocell, a little device that keeps mosquitoes away. Without it, I was miserable, sweating, swatting, flailing around trying not to get West Nile. I was seriously regretting coming out. But I stayed, because that's what I do. I'd been in the stand for maybe an hour when I started hearing something in the distance. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it. Just background noise. Probably nothing. But then I heard it again. A long, drawn-out moaning sound. I thought, okay, probably dogs barking in the distance. But I heard it again. And it definitely wasn't dogs. Then I thought, you can hear cows pretty far away from here. Maybe it's a big bull. The sound came again. Nope, not a cow. Then I realized something. It sounded like it was coming from 2 different locations, like there were 2 sources, responding to each other. I sat there in my stand, sweating, getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, trying to figure out what I was hearing. And I couldn't. I know animal sounds. I've been doing this my whole life. This wasn't anything I recognized. And the more I listened, the more uneasy I felt. It was still light out, plenty of shooting light left. Normally, I don't get down from my stand until I can't see the ground anymore. I stay until the last possible moment. Not this time. I decided I sure as hell didn't want to be out there at dark to find out what was making that sound. I got down hastily, packed up my summit climber, a tree stand that's basically 2 platforms you climb up with. I slung it over my back and started walking. The sun had just started to set, plenty of light, but I wasn't taking any chances. When I got to the trail, I set my stand down. My wife was about 200 yards away. We didn't have cell service out there, so I had to walk to her. I found her in her stand, looking behind her into a thick tangle of brush. She didn't even know I was there until I got close. She startled when she saw me. With a puzzled look, she asked, "The hell are you doing here?" She knew I normally wouldn't come get her until after dark. I made up something about not seeing any sign and the mosquitoes being miserable, which wasn't untrue. "See anything?" I asked. "No," she said, but I kept hearing something in this thicket behind me, like it was circling around, half circling behind me. My stomach tightened. "And then I got an awful smell," she continued, "almost like dog crap and wet dog mixed together." I forced a smile. Man, it was probably a bear. Sucks you didn't get to see it." But I didn't believe that. And I don't think she did either. I helped her pack up, got her stand on her back. Then we set off toward the truck. I picked up my stand along the way. Remember, I'd packed it up quickly. I hadn't secured it properly. So with every step, it made this loud clanking sound. Normally, that would drive me crazy. I'm careful about noise in the woods. But right then, I didn't care. I was hot, eaten alive, frustrated, and more than a little unnerved. The light was getting lower now, that golden hour before dusk. Still legal shooting light, but the shadows were getting longer. We were about 150 yards from the truck when I thought I heard something strange. But it happened during one of the stand clanks, so I wasn't sure. I heard it again, also during a clank. I froze, straining my ears, looking around for the source. My wife asked, "What are you doing?" "I heard a weird noise," I said. "Oh, I heard that a few times," she said casually. "It's been doing that." But with the stand clanking 2 inches from my ear, it was hard to make out. I stood there for maybe a minute, completely still, listening. Then I started walking again. This time, I heard it between the clanks. I froze immediately. There it was again. It came in pairs, the second one always slightly different in tone and duration than the first. I tried to rationalize it. Okay, probably someone getting ready to tune up some deer dogs before rifle season, calling their dogs. "Let's walk quiet," I whispered to my wife. I held my stand still to keep it from clanking. We moved as quietly as possible the rest of the way. When we reached the dirt road, I looked down. It was powder dry, dusty. My tire tracks from this morning were still there, clear as day. But there were no other tracks over them. No one else had driven down this road. No one was out here calling dogs. All the hairs on my body stood up. We got in the truck without saying a word and drove home. When we got home, I couldn't let it go. I immediately got on my computer and started looking up animal calls. Every native owl in the area, every bird, every animal I could think of. I played their vocalizations online. Nothing was even close. My wife was in the other room. I called her over. "Let's watch this," I said, pulling up a video. It was titled something like Sasquatch Vocalizations. I was half joking, trying to lighten the mood. We started watching. Various sounds, howls, screams, wood knocks. None of it matched. Then, the Sierra sounds started playing. The Sierra sounds are allegedly recorded Bigfoot vocalizations from the Sierra Nevada mountains in the 1970s. They're famous in the Bigfoot community. Whooping sounds, strange calls. The moment they started, my blood ran cold. It was identical. Not similar. Not kind of like it. Identical. The same pairs. The same tone variation between the first and second whoop. I looked at my wife. She had gone pale. Then she started crying. Not just tearing up, actually crying. "That's it," she said. "That's exactly what we heard." She was freaked out, badly, because we'd heard those exact sounds, in person, less than 2 hours ago, in the woods, alone. I'll never forget that hunt, not because I got a deer, I didn't see a single one, but because for the first time in my life, something in the woods made me leave before dark. Something I couldn't identify, couldn't explain. My wife heard something circling behind her, smelled something awful. I heard moaning from 2 different locations. Then we both heard those whoops. I've been hunting my entire life. I know these woods. I know what lives out there. Bears, coyotes, bobcats, owls, every bird you can think of. I've heard them all 1,000 times. This wasn't any of them. And when I got home and played the Sierra sounds, and it matched perfectly, I don't know what to think. I'm not saying I saw Bigfoot. I didn't see anything. But I heard something. We both did. And whatever it was big enough and confident enough to circle around behind my wife while she was in a tree stand. It was communicating with something else in 2 different locations. And it made sounds that match alleged Bigfoot vocalizations recorded decades ago in a completely different state. I still hunt that area, but I've never heard those sounds again. And I'm not sure if that makes me feel better or worse. Because part of me wonders, is it still out there? Just quiet now? Watching? I don't have answers. All I know is that for the first time in my life, the woods made me run. And I'll never forget the sounds that did it. If you've lived through a nightmare you can't explain, I want to hear it. Send your stories to commongroundhorror@gmail.com to be featured on the channel. This has been Alvin for Common Ground Horror. Until next time, sleep well, if you can.